What happens when a dream trip turns into a nightmare that defies explanation? Two young Dutch women set out on a hike through Panama's breathtaking cloud forests. They carried their cameras, their phones, their excitement, and nothing more. By nightfall, they were gone. Days turned to weeks, and when their belongings were finally found, the evidence painted a story that was anything but clear. Failed emergency calls, hundreds of strange photographs in the dead of night, scattered bones, some bleached, some still carrying flesh. Were Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon the victims of a tragic accident in one of the most dangerous jungles in Central America? Or did something or someone ensure that they would never leave El Pianista alive? This case is one of the most haunting disappearances of our time, because no matter how much evidence was recovered, nothing seems to add up. On April 1st, 2014, two students, Kris, just 21, and Lisanne, 22, vanished while hiking in Boquete, Panama. What should have been a day of exploration became a story that has obsessed investigators, journalists, and internet sleuths alike for more than a decade. From the desperate 911 calls that never went through, to the eerie nighttime photographs snapped in total darkness, to the condition of their remains, the fragments of this story feel like pieces of a puzzle that refuses to fit together. Was it a simple accident? A series of mistakes in an unforgiving wilderness? Or does the evidence suggest that something far more sinister was at play? Tonight, we retrace their journey into the jungle, step by step, as we explore the disturbing mystery. Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon were two Dutch students who disappeared on April 2014 while hiking a trail known as El Pianista in Panama. What began as a simple day hike quickly spiraled into one of the most haunting modern mysteries. After weeks of searching, fragments of their belongings, and eventually their bodies, were discovered. But what was meant to bring closure instead opened even more chilling questions. Their cause of death could never be determined with certainty. Dutch investigators suggested they may have fallen from a cliff after becoming lost. But when you examine the details, the failed emergency calls, the eerie photographs, the scattered remains, the picture becomes far darker and far less explainable. Panamanian authorities faced harsh criticism for how the case was handled. Families accused them of negligence, and later investigations would raise disturbing possibilities. Was this truly a tragic accident? Or did something sinister happen in the jungle that day? Kris Kremers, 21, and Lisanne Froon, 22, were close friends from Amersfoort in the Netherlands. Kris was described as creative, responsible, and adventurous. Lisanne was optimistic, intelligent, and deeply passionate about sports, especially volleyball. Together, they were curious spirits eager to explore the world. Kris had just completed her studies in cultural social education, specializing in art. Lisanne had graduated with a degree in applied psychology. Both stood on the threshold of adult life, filled with ambition, with possibility, and with dreams. Before their departure, Lisanne moved in with Kris in a student dorm. Together, they worked shifts at a cafe called Inden Kleinen Hap, saving money for the trip they had long planned. Their mission was more than tourism. They wanted to learn Spanish, volunteer with children, and give back. For Lisanne, the journey carried even more weight. It was her graduation gift, a reward for years of hard work. The two friends arrived in Panama on March 2014. For 2 weeks, they explored the country. Finally, on March 29th, they reached Boquete, a quiet mountain town in Chiriquí province. There, they would live with a local family for a month while volunteering. Nestled near the towering Baru volcano and surrounded by cloud forests, Boquete was known both for its beauty and its treacherous trails. On April 1st, the women set out for a hike around 11 a.m. The trail they chose was called El Pianista, a path winding through lush jungle that eventually climbs to the Continental Divide. Some locals claimed they were joined, briefly, by a dog from the nearby Il Pianista restaurant. Others remembered seeing the couple having brunch with two young Dutch men before they departed. But what is certain is this: the women walked into the misty green mountains that morning and never returned. That night, the restaurant dog made its way home alone. Kris and Lisanne did not. Back in the Netherlands, Lisanne's parents noticed the silence. The daily texts from their daughter, which had been so reliable, suddenly stopped. On April 2nd, the women missed a scheduled appointment with a local guide. And as days passed, worry turned to dread. By April 6th, their parents had flown to Panama. They were joined by police, search dogs, helicopters, and even Dutch detectives. For 10 days, the forests were combed in an exhaustive search. Flyers were distributed, posters hung. A $30,000 reward was offered. Yet, there was nothing. Not a shoe, not a scrap of fabric, not a single trace. The jungle kept its silence. It would be 10 long weeks before anything surfaced. On June 14th, a local woman claimed she had found Lisanne's blue backpack lying near a riverbank, close to her village of Alto Romero, in the Bocas del Toro province. Inside was a collection of strangely intact belongings: 2 pairs of sunglasses, $88 in cash, Lisanne's insurance card, a water bottle, her camera, 2 bras, and most disturbing of all, both of their phones. The devices told a desperate story. Around 6 hours into their hike, someone had tried dialing 112, the international emergency number, and 911, Panama's emergency line. The first attempt was made on Kris's iPhone at 4:39 p.m. Minutes later, another came from Lisanne's Samsung Galaxy. Neither went through. Over the next few days, more attempts were made, none connected. By April 4th, Lisanne's phone battery had died. It was never switched on again. Kris's iPhone, however, was turned on periodically for another week. But after April 5th, the correct PIN was never entered again. Instead, failed attempts were made until April 11th, when the phone lit up one last time at 10:51 a.m. and was switched off at 11:56. It would never be powered on again. The Canon camera offered another chilling layer. Early photos from April 1st show the women hiking, smiling, and reaching the overlook at the Continental Divide. Nothing appeared amiss. But then came April 8th. That night, between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m., 90 photographs were taken with the flash in total darkness. They appear frantic, disjointed, and haunting. Some show dense jungle. Some reveal a river or ravine. Others capture odd details: a twig topped with plastic bags, a backpack strap draped on a rock, a mirror placed nearby. One image even shows the back of Kris's head, lit heavily by the flash. Why these photos were taken and what they were meant to signal remains one of the case's deepest mysteries. The backpack reignited search efforts, and soon new discoveries followed. Kris's denim shorts were found on a rock along a tribute of the Culebri River, a few kilometers from where the backpack had been located. Rumors spread that the shorts were neatly folded, as if deliberately placed. Later photographs would reveal this, but the unsettling detail remained in the public imagination. 2 months later, searchers made a far darker discovery. Near the same riverbank, they found a pelvis, and inside a boot, a human foot. Over the following days, at least 33 bones were collected from the area. DNA confirmed they belonged to Kris and Lisanne. The condition of the remains raised more questions than answers. Lisanne's bones still bore traces of skin. Kris's bones, however, appeared unnaturally bleached, as though stripped clean. Forensic experts suggested this could happen through natural exposure to the sun. But others weren't so sure. In total, only around 10% of Lisanne's body and 5% of Kris's were ever recovered. A Panamanian forensic anthropologist examined the bones under magnification and noted something strange. There were no scratches, no cuts, no signs of animal activity, violence, or tools. The bones were eerily clean. The jungle had returned fragments of 2 lives, but not the answers.